people, Tas101 Saga here again. Today we'll be taking a look at this rather attractive acquisition I made a few months back. So what is this lovely little piece? Well, in fact I haven't been able to find out very much in regards to the exact model of rifle. However, what we do know is that this is a single shot breech loading Rook rifle by J.Patstone, chambered in 300 Rook, a common black powder cartridge for hunting Rook and other small game at the time. Coincidentally, J.Patstone was making firearms a stone's throw away from my current residence, which was the primary reason I bought this rifle on somewhat of a whim. Witnessing the existence of something so local, I just couldn't pass it up. 25 High Street, Southampton is the address that Patstone was known to be trading from, beginning in around 1870 and ending sometime in 1894. During that time and beyond, he's credited with a decent array of various firearms, including different variations of break-open single-shot breech loaders in various calibers, including shotguns. Before we discuss the 300 Rook cartridge itself, let's take a look at some of the features of this now very obsolete style of hunting firearm. First, I disassembled the rifle in its action as it was covered with surface rust and various other gunk, as to be expected from a rifle of its age that has been used outdoors. English arms of this period are some of the finest on the collector market, and although this is a relatively cheap rifle even today, it is in fact no exception. The tolerances are tight, the finishing excellent, and the construction simple. The trigger tension is provided by a leaf spring secured by a simple screw, and the hammer operates off of a V-spring, all of which are still in perfect working order and hold their tension. Everything else is secured with short thread flathead screws. After a few man-hours of intense cleanup, the wood looks full of life again and the majority of the rust is history. Sometimes the unexpected jobs that pop out of nowhere turn out to be the most satisfying. Same process on an old bolt-action Martini Henry or muzzleloader of sorts would grant me all kinds of happiness, and something I intend to fulfill. Some details have not aged with time, such as the visually and ergonomically pleasing checkering work, which remains common to this day, including firearms made for military use. Although at the time of this rifle's manufacture this was not a common theme for military arms. Generally speaking, these had much plainer features, including the furniture, which on this rifle is constructed from a high quality walnut. If desired, the rifle can be separated into two halves easily for transport by removing this screw, opening the breech and hinging the barrel off the receiver, in the same fashion as a traditional double-barrel shotgun. Both the grip and the handguard are exceptionally small by modern standards. This was in fact common for the time. For example, the 1860 Henry rifle doesn't have a handguard at all, which was one of the major complaints of its users, partially because of the exposure of the offhand to barrel heat. However, the Henry is a fast-firing repeater. This Rook rifle's handguard is small and doesn't offer a great grip, but unlike the Henry, this is a single-shot deal which isn't designed for a battlefield. The recoil impulse of the 300 Rook cartridge is also very low. I absolutely love the octagonal barrel. The rear sight is a simple V-notch and adjustable from 50 to 100 yards. The sight picture is basic and adequate for these ranges. The front sight has been wedged slightly to the left. I suspect this was done deliberately when zeroing this example, as otherwise there are no provisions for windage adjustment. The action can be opened with the right thumb, often seen on these period rifles. They are mostly mounted on top nowadays. The strength of the ejector is reliant on the speed of which the action is opened. It is not sprung loaded. The case would often have to be removed by hand, especially if that particular load has caused the cartridge case to expand in the chamber. However, this is a low pressure round, so that is unlikely to become problematic. A heavy single stage trigger releases the manually cocked hammer. The 300 Rook is a centre-fire, straight-walled, fully rimmed black powder cartridge. The name of the round itself is derived from its unfortunate intended target, the Rook, a common resident of the United Kingdom. Also found in Western Europe, Scandinavia, the list goes on. The relatively low power of the 300 Rook round makes it usable for small game, and although it could theoretically take down larger animals with good shot placement, there were and are better rounds available for this purpose. Although the round is no longer produced, both hand loading and period data are available. The period loading of this cartridge featured a pure lead 80 grain bullet loaded with 10 grains of black powder, leaving the muzzle at 1100 feet per second and producing approximately 215 foot-pounds of energy. The closest comparison I could find in terms of foot-pounds when it comes to modern loadings was a 31 grain .22 long rifle fired at 1750 feet per second, producing around 204 foot-pounds, or 11 foot-pounds less than the period 300 Rook load. Ultimately, cartridges like the 300 Rook would be superseded in the mid-1880s by the advent of .22 long rifle, which to this day remains one of the most popular cartridges in the world. For a further comparison, a 115 grain full metal jacket 9mm bullet leaving the muzzle at 1180 feet per second produces around 355 foot-pounds of energy, which is of course significantly more. Based on this data, you could argue that the 300 Rook cartridge is anemic. However, the data also shows it was adequate for its design purpose. This J.Patstone Rook rifle is a great example of a late Victorian era Englishman's small game piece, and it will forever enjoy a spot on my gun wall. In the UK, 300 Rook is one of the many calibers on the obsolete caliber list under Section 58 of the Firearms Act, a legal category which is great for collecting, as they are all in untouched condition and can of course be enjoyed at the range with the correct certificate. That's all for now folks, just a short one. If you do have any questions, as always, please post them in the comments, and by all means feel free to rate, comment or subscribe. Thanks for watching.